Welcome, everyone, to our prayer journey study of the book of Matthew. I'm excited about this. Today, we're covering chapter 1, verses 1 through 16. No, wait, don't be bored. Don't say, I don't want to go through that list of the generations of Jesus Christ. This one begot that one. This one begot that one. Because it will bog me down. Well, many years ago, I sat down to read this gospel, and that same mindset was mine. And so what I did is I sat and I prayed and I asked God, I says, God, give me something great out of this lineages that I'm going through. And as I started to read, he opened it up to me and I saw so many things. So here's what we're going to cover today in this short study. Number one, that Jesus Christ is and has the right to the Messiahship. We're going to see that in the very first verse. Number two, we are going to see an extraordinary thing. Matthew includes in his lineage many women. And these women are kind of amazing, who are in the kingdom by faith. And he's going to mention one man, Urias. And if you don't know who he is, you'll see at the end of this study. So I'm only going to read a select few verses that are of most importance here. And number one is the very first verse. It says here, the book of the generations of Jesus Christ, the son of David and the son of Abraham. No, Abraham came first. But Matthew mentions first David. He's trying to show that Jesus Christ is indeed in line for the Messiahship. That is what is most important. Of course, David's the son of Abraham, but Jesus is the son of David, therefore has right to the throne of God. So that's why that is included in that very first verse. Now let's take a look, and I'm going to read a few verses here, and we're going to see something extraordinary. In this world of masculinity back then, Matthew brings up extraordinary women. Number one, in verse 3, and Judas begot Pharez, and Pharez Zara of Tamar, and Pharez begot Esam, and Esam begot Aram. Who is this Tamar? Well, this Tamar is an amazing woman, and for this reason. Well, let me tell you what she did first. I'm not going to give you all the details. We don't have time. But basically what she did is she had the right to bear a child from one of the sons of Judah. But two of the sons died before she can get it, and the third son wanted nothing from her. And Judah did not force the issue. And by law, this should have happened. She should have had a birthright into the kingdom through her husband. So what she did is she played a harlot and tricked Judah into being with her. And this brought about a birth. And Judah wanted to have her put to death because of her sin. But unbeknownst to Judah, she had been with him. And when he found out, he realized his error and that his sin was greater than hers. But you know what's amazing about this woman? Esau was hated by God because he despised his birthright. But this woman stood up, and got the right to be born into God's kingdom, in a sense, on earth. She fought for that birthright, whether she did it right or wrong. Let's go to the next one. It says here in verse 5, and Solomon begot Boaz of Rahab, and Boaz begot Obadiah, and I'm not going to go to Ruth yet. Rahab, she was a harlot who also, like Tamar, by faith, trusted the spies because they They knew that these spies, she knew, worked for God. She believed God. She was faithful to God. She was faithful to these spies, and she became part of Israel and is also, by faith, stepped into the kingdom of Israel and is in the line of David. Then we have Ruth. Ruth, probably the most faithful of all, another Gentile who has no right to the kingdom of Israel, who left the kingdom of Israel on the instructions of her husband, or under Naomi's husband, and tarried it in the land of Moab, I believe it was, a pagan land. And then when they lost their husbands, they came back to Israel. And by faith, Ruth lived a life of submission to God, even saying that God was her God, and encouraging Naomi, her mother-in-law, and providing for her by faith, showing that faith and works go hand in hand. These are three amazing women. Now, we also have here a man called Urias in verse 6. And Jesse begot David the king, and David the king begot Solomon. Of her had been the wife of Urias, another man of great faith. The man this time, but a man whose life was taken. I did a video on this called, "Is My Sin Too Big to Be Forgiven?" Well, God calls David a man after his own heart, and his sin, therefore, is forgiven. He put Uriah to death. And that had always bothered me in the Bible until I sat down that one day and saw that God did not forget the righteous man Uriah. He placed his name in this gospel so that all would know he does not forget the righteous. Sometimes men will be put to death for God. They are not forgotten. Maybe men will forget them, but God will not forget them. Now we're going to close with the last verse here. And Jacob begot Joseph, the husband of Mary, whom was born Jesus, who is called the Christ. I'm going to tell you that I spent probably 10 hours on this genealogy, this generations of Jesus Christ, because I had gone to my pastor and said, this is a gospel in Mathew that he's writing of Joseph, correct? Which is what I believe from a long period of time. He said, no, it was from Mary. So I tore up all my notes and I started the gospel all over again. And I watched about 10 hours of different videos. I dug into Pentecost work on J. Dwight Pentecost work on the words and works of Jesus Christ. And you know what? The scholars are totally on different pages on this. Some say Mary, some say Joseph. And it mind-boggled me to the point that I wind up actually going back to the way I kind of think it is. But you know what? Who knows? And now I really truly realize this from Paul in 1 Timothy 1:4. Neither give heed to fables or endless genealogies, which minister to questions, rather than to godly edification, which is of the faith. So do. So this is what I'm going to do. We're going to stay and not worry about that particular details on the genealogies of Jesus Christ, but just to know this, that Jesus Christ is in line to be the Messiah. That was the point Mathew was making. And we'll get into more details on that next time. So until next time, may Jesus increase as we decrease.